Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon, aka Luke, and I am a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. What does that mean? Well, we do everything from printer assemblies to 3D printer builds to cosplay helmets and all types of 3D prints. I'm also a prototyper. I do tweak some designs here and there, but I normally provide feedback while taking part in beta test programs, such as the closed beta that's now an open beta for the 0G Mercury full frame enclosure kit, the trad rack tool changer that I still need to get put on something. I also work on testing out the printabilities of some models for Free Heathen, Maker Millwright. So yeah, I kind of get into a little bit of everything. Hey, Timor, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Today, we're just going to keep our Rook 2020, just printing and doing some things, just trying to break it in a little bit more. I will say I did have one issue with the Fabrico Rook still, and that issue was, you remember how I was telling you how it kind of was leaning on retracts? There is so much torque going through the Sherpa Mini that it actually leaned it out enough that the filament had a gap between the bottom of the Sherpa Mini and the PTFE tube. And it actually pushed filament out between the base of the mount and the PTFE tube. So I came in the morning to have this big kludgy mess. So I'm like, that's it. I'm done. We're going to go ahead and put a Sentinel. We are going to go ahead and do the Sentinel tool head like we see here on our Rook 2020. We're going to do a Canrog Sentinel build over on the Fabrico Rook with a Sherpa Mini mount. And yeah, we're just going to go that route. I will probably do that off stream just because I wanted to move on to something else, which was finishing our panels for the Ender switchwire conversion kit. So I do have a panel set for the other one, and I've got most of the stuff printed. But what I wanted to do here was work on the light bars and getting the light bars figured out. So kind of what I have here is just trying to figure out, okay, how the light bars themselves mounted, and then which way I need to run my my actual lights so that I can get them soldered up and then start doing the wiring, because we'll want to add the lights in here before I get too much further and can't like get back in there and feed the lights in nicely. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then once we do this one, I may just do the other one on another stream, because starting Saturday, we'll be working on this box, which is the Flying Bear Reborn 2 CoreXY printer. But right now, the Rook 2020 here has been printing out. I've been going back and forth between the Toys for Tots chameleons and penguins just to get some prints going on it, to kind of break things in a bit, stretch the belts out a little bit. And what's on the plate right now is a Free Heathen Workshop miniature model. And I'm still working on trying to get my support dialed in on this printer. And I can't tell if it's my support settings or like my extrusion multiplier settings or something, but my supports are not breaking off as easily as they do on my other printers. So I'm thinking it's still like print settings itself that I need to work on. because all my other printers, to include printers that are printing ABS or printing a lot higher temperatures, my support's just a little bit of pressure and they snap off. So I'm still not figuring out why my supports are being a booger on this printer, because I'm using standard Orca slicer settings, which have worked great for every other printer. But I keep like breaking features off, trying to get these supports off. So I'll continue to work on those. Meanwhile, we'll just go ahead and throw some more prints on here and get it printing. So that we can still see this going. But what we're going to do on stream today is we're going to work on getting the light strips done. So what I've done is I've figured out what the length of the light strip should be. And I'm going to have to solder the wires on here. Now these are 2 wires, 5-volt and ground. And the plan is to utilize, and these are LDO 3x2 connectors. So I just started prints right now. These will actually mount to a backer board, and then we can take that and mount it on the back side of the printer. But this will allow us to bring in the connection from both light strips, and then one connection that will go down underneath the deck to actually provide the power into the light strips. Hey, Creatix Brit, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing very well. So what I need to do is just figure out how I'm going to wire this up. And really, it's a case of, is the positive side on the left or the right? It really doesn't matter as far as this goes, as long as all 3 are done the same. I then just need to make sure that when I key it on the other end, that it's keyed appropriately. And since this is a 2-wire and these are 5 volts, the plan is to take them into a 5-volt source, which means directly to most likely an end-stop connector on the board, the controller board. And for this particular printer, which is Red Dragon, this is running a Big Tree Tech Manta 4P. So what I'm going to do is just bring up the pinout diagram and take a look at it and see what we're looking at as to where I can tap in to get a 5-volt pin at. There we go. XYZ and install. And how are you doing tonight, Creatix Brit? Welcome on in. Let me pop back up here. Welcome on in. How's it going? Hey, Chewy, how's it going, my friend? No, we're not doing RGB on this. We're just doing 5-volt straight white. This is just, so at least for this one, right? So for this one, because it's got the dark shroud, I just wanted 5-volt LEDs, because my LDO motor's over here. So this printer over here, which is Kyber Dragon, is running 5-volt LEDs, and they're like super bright, and they're just plugged into a standard end-stop port on the Octopus board. So we don't, I mean, you can do 24 volt if you really, really want to. But the other thing with 5 volt, I could plug it in and run it off of the Raspberry Pi if I wanted to. I just need 5 volt and ground. So I can plug it into the Pi if I felt like it. Or in this case, it's a CB1 module. So I've got a multitude of different places that I could actually plug this into if I felt like it. And normally in the kits, what I see is they run it down the left side and then under the board. But in looking, the way I have mine set up, the power supply's on this side and my Manta board's on this side. So in this particular instance, I'm going to do a long run on this side, run it across the top and then down, and I'll mount my 3-pin board kind of somewhere along here. And then I'll have a short connection for the right side, and then I'll have a long connection that comes down that I can feed down right by the Z motor. And then we'll be able to connect that to the board. Well, you can run the 24 off of like an easy, like an extra, well, here, let me, so on the CB1, we've got multiple places that we can actually plug it into. We've got some extra 24 volt fan pins that we can plug it into if we were running 24 volt. We've got in-stop pins that we can plug it into, because I don't think what we've got, well, no, we're using X, we're using Y. We're not using Z because Z would be using the probe. So I can run it into either Z or the E0 in-stop, because I just need 5 volt and ground. I don't even need a pin to activate it because they'll be always on, right? You're right. I won't be able to den them. But once again, in a case like this, where it's a full dart case, I mean, the Trident, yeah, I can dim them if I want. The Trident, in fact, let me triple check my Trident config and see where we've got our LED plugged into. Because I do not believe that they are plugged into the RGB, because the RGB would be the no, I guess on this one, so on the Trident, we are going into the NeoPixel RGB port. So let me check Kyber Dragon. Here, I'll pull it up over here. Kyber Dragon. Yeah, it all depends on where you want to put it. So on Kyber Dragon, which is the LDO kit, LEDs. Yeah, so the case light, the chamber lighting, is just connected to a standard fan port. And you set the what we got, PWM is true, shutdown value, cycle time. So if we go into a fan port, which is a 2-pin, then you can PWM it. If you go into an end stop, it just gets 5 volts, and that's how bright it is. So on the Manta, how many ports do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 ports today, and I'll have to double check my settings. No, I don't, because on this one, there's a single fan port in the back. So I should have a fan port available, but it's 24 volt. It's not an adjustable fan. Yes, that's what I'm looking at, is depending on your board, because on an Octopus, you have the ability to say it's 5 volt, 12 volt, or 24 volt. On the Manta, I do not believe it is the case. And I also need to make sure I'm looking at the right version. So yeah, I mean, technically I can go into the RGB port. I'm just not going to have RGB set up. But yeah, it's just a matter of where I want to put it. But like I said, for these, I specifically bought 2-wire, so it just needs a 5 volt. So I can plug it into anything that's 5 volt that's got 5 volt power and a ground. So hey, Pez Liz, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Thank you for the raid. Raiding with a party of 23. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Let me jump over here. Hey, Zombie. Hey, Buddha 3D. Kieran Clark. Papa Bear. Is that Yelnats or Yenats? Let's call you Papa Bear. Yeah. Thank you so much for the raise, Pez Liz. It was funny because I got off work. I was watching Free Heathen, and then I saw you were on, so I jumped over to your stream, and you were like, "Hey, Digital Dragon, I'm on this early so I can raid into you." And I was like, "Oh crap! I better get ready to raid or get ready to stream." So I was like running around like a madman trying to get things set up to stream. So tonight, kind of a weird stream. We're just going to kind of do a chill between a little bit of projects. Hey, K2 Kevin, Solar 3DP, welcome on in. So we've got the Rook 2020 printing again over here. Whoops, there it is. We got the Rook 2020 banging away over here on some Toys for Tots Chameleons. Once again, relatively new printer that we got up and running a couple streams ago. We're just trying to break it in and get it running some prints. And we've been working on and off on our Enderwire build. Well, the build's been there for a while, but we've been working on getting an enclosure put on it. And this is an enclosure that was, oh my goodness, I just brain farted on the guy that did it. But rather than using a bunch of VHB tape on this install, it actually uses M3 button head screws, and everything mounts up that way. So it's nice because you can take it back off easily if you're doing maintenance or repairs on the machine, right? So what I was doing, we stopped beforehand because I didn't have LEDs to do the lights with. Now I do. So we're going to be doing we're going to be working on the lighting. And I specifically, because this particular kit is using a full dark out panel set, I specifically got just straight 5 volt white LEDs. So it's a 2-wire. It's just 5 volt and ground to make the mounting and everything a little bit easier. So You got your ACM panels from KB3D. Awesome. So the panels on this one, when we built both Red Dragon and Blue Dragon, I actually cut my own panels out of 3mm ABS. So I didn't need the ACM panels, but I did get the Enclosure. And I've got another set of Enclosure panels for Blue Dragon that will be this dark smoked color for the back sections. So the back sides, the back panel, and the top will be the smoked color. And then the front side panels and the doors will be clear. So I probably will go with RGB on those. We'll see. I'll figure out how to pipe those in RGB. Or I may have to switch that up and do some other changes. But once again, with the panels being screw-on, if I need to, I could take the 5-volt. Well, I can basically just take the front and the doors off and put them on the other one. So here's my deal. This one is running a Manta 4P with a CV1 module, which has 2 different sets of RGB connectors on it. I believe one of my RGBs is feeding my NeoPixels on this particular build. And then on the other build, the NeoPixels are going onto a, I believe it just has an SKR Mini E3V3 in the other one. I've got to double check, which means since I have a secondary RGB in this one, I might be able to put RGBs on this. I'm planning it out. I'm thinking it out. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. Other than we're going to do some soldering on some NeoPixels, and we're going to get this set up. So what I'm going to do is I've got some wire here. I'm going to use this to create my 2 ends that will plug in to an LDO 2-wire splitter board. And then I will take another pair, which will be red and black, that'll go down and run into the housing. And that's how we're going to set things up. Ooh, you got your Adafruit order in today? Awesome, Britt. Yeah, so Mrs. Dragon, as you all know, came in last night, and she came bearing some gifts. So she made a run over, well, she went to Micro Center twice, and both times they didn't have any Raspberry Pi Zeros. But she did pick up for me some Raspberry Pi Picos, and these are the new wireless version with the header mounts already on them. So these are the Raspberry Pi Pico WHs. So these are going to be used for some projects. In fact, I've got one project already that I've got set up because I got a thing from Adafruit. What'd I do with it? Where'd I put it? What'd I do with it? Here it is. So we've got a wave share kit here, and this will probably be something we'll do on the stream as well. But it's basically a basic robotics platform that uses the Mechanism wheels. And thank God they're pre-assembled, because I heard that they're a pain in the butt to assemble. But it's got the full car frame and everything, so we'll have a project that we'll be able to work on the stream. And you know, this is just the frame, but you can use either a Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi Pico or various Arduino setups in order to actually set up a robot. And so we'll be doing this on stream. We'll do some electronics here and there on stream. But I did also get a Raspberry Pi Zero W and a Raspberry Pi 2 or Raspberry Zero 2W off of Amazon. They were just a little bit more expensive. But we do have various things that we'll be able to work project-wise on. And who knows, maybe we'll add some flashy lights to a cosplay down the road. Well, in my Stream Deck here, my homemade Stream Deck is running a Raspberry Pi Pico as the brain for it. And the nice thing is it just plugs right into the back of the, or it plugs in and it acts like a USB drive. So you can make changes on the fly and just drop stuff to it. It makes it a lot easier. But like I said, we're going to do some wiring. And I was putting these in here so I could try and figure out which way I wanted to wire them up, though it doesn't really, I guess it doesn't technically matter as long as I wire them the right way when I do the connectors on the board. So, is there a, no, this is just straight black and black, so that'll be great. That'll make it easier. Not really. So we're going to work on just snipping this down. I had, for whatever reason, there was a ton of wire that was stripped on these, so I'm just going to cut that down some. We don't need a whole lot exposed to do the solder job here. But we will be soldering up these as some 2 wires. And I'm going to need, I guess what I'm going to need is to figure out I'm going to make these long so that I can cut them more to length once I get them installed. But really what we're going to do is just get these set up, get them wired up, and then just work on getting lights working. And for those of you that rated in on Pez Liz, I don't know this for 100% fact, but I have heard others say this. On the lower left, beneath the viewing screen, if you click on my little dragon icon, click on it twice, that will actually bring you fully into my stream so it counts on metrics. If you wouldn't mind doing that, I would appreciate it. I'm not like tracking them, but it's nice to see the numbers every now and then. And I have found the joy of flux. So I am using Amtech. And you got to be careful and make sure you get Amtech if you go on go online. But this is the Amtech. You want to make sure that it says amtechdirect.com on it if you go through Amazon, or you can go directly through their website. I have no affiliate link or anything. But the MC559 version 3 TF, this works with all types of solders. It's a universal alloy flux. And I found that this has worked well and helps, especially on your smaller connections, like when we're doing like individual LEDs for a stealth burner or whatnot. So you just need to get a little bit of flux on your pad, and it's going to help your solder flow a lot easier when you go to tin your pads. And this you can clean up with just a little bit of IPA. If you get a lot on there, you can just wipe it down with a little bit of IPA afterwards. You just want to get a little bit on your pads. Just going to set these up because it'll make it a little bit easier for me to tin everything real fast. Then we'll join them up. What did I do with that? I'm going to bring you guys closer today, or at least try to. Hey, look at that. We'll bring it closer over here as I got to work on some things so you can see me a little bit better as we do that. Grab my soldering iron, which is hiding back there. Yeah, so Pez Liz, I was seeing your progress on your cocoa press. How long do you think it's going to take you to finish that, or are they still changing up some of the design stuff now? Well, I got news for you. By now, I would have actually just eaten some of the chocolate if I got any chocolate in, because that would be just me. Oh, sweet. So you'll be able to actually push some plastic by the end of the weekend? So all I'm going to do is I got a little ball of solder on there, and I'm just going to try and tin these pads real fast. We'll do this on both sides. And the nice thing is the flux helps it actually flow and cover the fullness of that pad without going everywhere. Sometimes I hate trying to get wires pre-tinned depending on the type of wire they are. But pre-tinning your wires will definitely make it easier when the time comes to connect them. And I probably really should have an air extractor, but I don't. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this up here with the wire right over it. A little bit of heat. Again, a little bit of heat. And that's attached. Do the same thing over on the other side. Make sure that both sides of that got connected, which it did. So we'll come over here and do the same thing for this other side. I should do the far side first, huh? And let me tell you, this would probably be a little bit easier to do without the table shaking from having a printer going on it, but such is life. Okay, and just like that, we can tug on both of them, make sure they were good. And then we can get a little bit of IPA and we can just wipe that down if we felt like it. But we've got our 2 LED strips primed and ready to go. We'll just need to figure out the actual lengths of the wires and where we want to actually put the piece. And I may wind up taking the top panel back off of this just to make it easier to get it in there and work on it. So I'm actually going to do that. So let's take the few screws off the top and take the top panel back off. Yeah. Yeah, the OmniFixo is really an awesome design. They're not cheap, but they are an awesome design and they hold on to things really well. And I like the fact that it's not a, so it's a straight up and down clamping mechanism, right? So it's not a pivot point like a pair of pliers. So if you were going to work on the one I really like is when you're trying to work on like wiring up end stops, right? You can take your end stop and actually clamp it on there and not worry about doing a compression where you're only clamping really right at the edge. You're clamping at the full piece, and you got to apply a lot of force to actually make it move. I guess it helps if I get it up here, right? You got to apply a pretty decent amount of force. So that's what I like about this is the clamping action that it has, and the fact that you can move it in any angle. You can stack them on top of each other because they're magnetic if you need something that's taller. It's a really cool tool for the workbench. We've got a bunch of our M3x6 button head screws, and then we've got some of our M5x8s that go down through the top and into the top rail of the printer. And the nice thing is that these are sized with the right spacing. So you've got options. You can basically put a spool holder on top and just run it down through the piece, or you can still use your standard spool holder, mount it there, you'll have your spool holder, and it goes right down and in. So I will be mounting this spool holder back on there when I put this back on later. But for now, we'll take this off. We're going to unplug this and move this particular part somewhere else. Otherwise, I will burn myself because I know myself. Coffee. Okay, you have to do the belts next. That's where you need your team. Well, Zombie's there at your beck and call to help you with the belt. He's done belts enough. Oh, and I remember Ellie talking about being able to make different like flavors because she knew somebody that was doing some things with like flavored like liqueur flavored chocolates and stuff. And I was like, oh, if she can get in there and start doing some stuff with like caramel or like you said, peanut butter, oh, that would be the dream. That would be the dream. And so what I did now was I just brought this over, brought it a little bit closer so that we can all see it and look at it. But once again, we're going to run, you just need to pick a side, one side or the other. Now I'm going to say that you want to do it on the front half panel. And let me bring you over here to show you a little bit closer what I'm talking about. So your panels are in two halves. So there's a back half and a front half. So if you mount your splitter, say on the back half, then if you need to do any maintenance and you take the front half off, then you've got to undo all your wiring, this, that, and everything else. So I'm not sure if I want to put it on the back half or maybe mount it right here on the front half so that it'll be easier to take the one panel off. Just pull two wires and take the panel off so you don't, I don't know, 6 1/2 dozen the other. But you definitely want to mount it on one side or the other. You don't mount it like that. You'll mount it on one side or the other. And that's where I was saying is it doesn't need to be, like this one side doesn't need to be very long, but we don't want to like have them all run down to the side either. We want to keep them sort of up at the top on one side or the other. So that's what we'll be working on next is we're just going to take these. This will be my long run. So we're going to set it in here. And we're just going to feed it in from the back moving forward. Whoops. Darn it. So we'll do that again. So I just want to feed it in from the back to the front. And see if I can't. Oh, I know what's happening. I know what's happening. Sorry about that. It's the weight of the cord itself that's making it turn. Okay. So the big thing here is knowing, one, which wire is which. So my positive is on the bottom. And it gets pushed through the back. Now, some people will say, you've got an exposed connection there, you need to heat shrink that. And I'm going to sit here and tell you every single one of these solder pads is an exposed connection. Am I going to put electrical tape on every single one of those? No. So you can. It may actually help for strain relief, or it just depends on how you mount your things and protect them. Now these lights have a backing to them, an adhesive backing. We're not going to take that off. I thought about taking it off on an end just to hold one end down. And then I thought bad about that because if I ever needed to take it out, exactly, it's low voltage, it's 5 volt, there's no need to. And what I was thinking is just doing the same thing that I saw oh, what's his name? Steve Builds do, which is just use some black electrical tape to hold it down for now. And potentially come and do, you know, the little sticky squares and zip ties down the road. Because this is, you know, it will get hot. We're putting it in a enclosure now, so it can get hot. And this tape may not do great things in a heated chamber. But I'm just going to use tiny squares for now to hold it in place so that it keeps it out of the way, right? And eventually I'll need to mount this across the top and then down the edge here. I'm just trying to figure out what my spacing is going to be to get it over there. And then once again, I always have to remember which side is up and down so I know which way my 5-volt is. Because I need to know where my positive and where my negative is going to be. And about where I want to cut this. So I kind of want to mount my piece right here. We'll go ahead and we'll just do a strip and crimp job on this. And this is just some cheap 24 gauge, I believe it's silicone wire off of Amazon. And silicone wire is fine for this. You can use PEP if you've got some. You're just trying to, you know, silicone's fine because it's not going to be moving. But I do want to make sure that I know which side is which on that. And I was looking at which side on my connector because my plan is to just kind of match the same way all the way through the line. So we want what I'm going to do is do my black and red wire first because that'll give me my mental clue when I go to do the rest. Yeah. Oh yeah, 5-volt, if you still plug it in the wrong way, it can still make things go pop. That's no big deal. The nice thing with LEDs is normally if you get the right LEDs, if you reverse the polarity on them, they just don't turn on. They should not pop anything. And you did hear my words. I said, if you do them right, they should not pop. So first crimp goes around the bare wire. Second crimp goes around the insulation. Because this is a silicone wire, it's a little floppy. I like to hold the head, because that's what can happen where one leg goes down, the other leg stays up, and tells you to have a great day. Which on JST connectors, they are wrapping around it. They're not like biting into it, so it's not that big of a deal. But it does make it painful to get it in the connector sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I am trying to reuse wires that I already had from previous builds rather than grabbing new. So hence why I'm doing it this way. I do have give me 1 second and I'll show you what I was going to talk about. Clipping wires on stream for everybody's viewing pleasure. Now we're going to see if the red one goes in here nicely or if it's going to be a pain in the butt. I think that went in. And that's the other thing with soft silicone wires. They're such a pain to like get in because they're just so getting them to actually go, the connector to go all the way in sometimes is a pain in the butt. Okay, so they're in there. So I did this so that I can make sure when I do all these others, because these are all in parallel, as long as I know which way I'm wiring them up in the one, I make sure that they're all wired the same way, where positives on the right and negatives on the left, then we're golden. Because then I'll have my red and black when I get down to the bottom. So once again, my positive is on the bottom side here. So my bottom are on the right, which it will be the same as that way then. There we go. Yay. All right, I know now that that is, I'm going to trace it again, my positive side. So I'm going to grab one of my 2 pins and I'm going to make sure that I go in the same side for the positive. That way I know that it's connected in the right direction. So I'll show you which LEDs I got here in 1 second. So that side's done. So I got this KXZM. It's a USB LED strip, cool white. So it's a DC 5-volt, non-waterproof. You want the non-waterproof when you're doing this. Otherwise, you're going to have to peel the waterproof layer off the top in order to fish it in to these bafflers. But it's a straight 5-volt, and the one end, what do I do with the one end? Actually, it has a USB connection on it. It was pre-soldered with a USB. So what I did was I figured out the right length and went ahead and snipped it off there because I may use this on some other printer just to be able to plug it in and get some lights. Who knows, maybe on a Rook 2020 that's sitting here on the table. I don't know, but it's an option. But the other thing that I'm probably going to do is just use some of this, I think it's 24 gauge FEP wiring that you get with with Lineo. Anytime you get a Lineo wiring harness, they tend to give you a bunch of this. And I think I have a red one somewhere as well. So I'd be able to do a color-coded one in this wire as well. And I'll probably use that on the next one. Why does Subble burp? I don't know. Did I burp? The 5-volt DC is going to be on the bottom side on this one too. And what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to come in from this back side. So each side has an end where you can slide stuff in. So we need our wires on this side. So we're going to bring our LEDs in from the back side here. And route those in. And there we go. And once again, we know that the bottom side of this is my 5-volt. So I'm just trying to figure out about how far I need my wire. I'm probably going to pull this out, cut it here on the table, and then work it on the table. Nice thing is I'll be able to reuse this when I make the other harness for the other Enderwire. You just undo that a little bit, and then when you're doing your connectors, you really don't need much, just a very tiny amount, focus, of wire exposed. So if you get too much when you crimp these, you wind up impeding the pin's ability to go on the connector when you push it in, and you could actually dislodge your connection and make it not want to work as well. So my 5-volt is on there that way, so I'm going to go this way. Need a couple of pins. Hey, how's it going, Modlight? Modlight, I have not sent you a tracking number because I never got a tracking number. I should have said print it, but I said just email it, and I never got an email. So, hey, Kid Skyfire. Hey, Royal Nomi. Oh, got you. The September Twitch advert. Yes, it is September. I should probably be clamoring for everybody to, hey, please resub, please sub. It's cheaper to do it during September. I believe it's 25% off for subs for 1 and 3 months. And it's, I believe, 30 or 33% off if you do 6 months or longer. Hey, Capricorn Tube, how are you doing? Welcome on in. I have a feeling that was going to be it. I might have actually done just too little on this one. Let me open up, let me expose just a tad bit more there. I always wind up with at least one failed crimp when I'm crimping wires, so might as well be the one I do on stream, huh? That's good. There we go. And I'll need another one of my pins. So what we're doing is we're adding lights to our printer because we're doing the blacked out or smoked enclosure. Having some lights will make it a little bit easier to look in and check on a print. So if we can get it to focus, that's what we were looking for in a nice, good crimp. Skinny parts around just the wire, and then the bottom portion is around the insulating jacket. And we figure out where our positive side is. So here's our positive side here. We run that up. That's got to be in our right connector. Negative, of course, being the left side connector. And then we'll be able to go ahead and slide this back in here. You got your pancake motor installed? All right. All right, so, and then this end is going to be the one that comes right down the side, and we're going to feed it in to our bottom panel right by our motor. So there's a 40/40 extrusion. Well, I guess it helps if I point you downward, huh? So I'm putting it on this side, but on this side, there's a 40/40 extrusion right here that this motor is sitting right over the top of. So this left side, I can't put anything right there, but there's a gap right here where the Z motor wires go into, and that's where I'm going to feed my wire down, is in that gap. So that way it goes down underneath my lower deck panel, and I'll be able to grab it when we flip this on its side. I won't shove it down there the whole way yet. We'll work that once we get it there. Now what I am waiting for is I need a couple of these, okay? And we're just going to mount this basically on the side. It'd really be better if that was fully flat. Don't want to reprint that, but I will. Yeah, we'll make that work. We'll make that work with some VHB tape. So, I mean, these, the connectors that I'm using, these little three-way parallel connectors, they're made to actually screw into something. And I don't think the hole spacing will line up. Ooh, that's close. Close, but it's not going to line up. It would be great if it would line up with the actual. Oh, wow. So I'm telling you, you don't want to go across the panels in case you have to take them off for maintenance. But what if I told you that these holes actually line up with the horizontal? It looks like they line up if you do the horizontal there. What do you guys think? Let me show you. You see that with the screws? You think those holes line up pretty good? Ah, work with me, darn it. I think those holes line up pretty good between those screw heads in there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So what we'll do is I don't need this little tab here in the back now. So I can either sand that off, or I could, I guess, quote unquote, slice it off in a slicer and reprint one of these or a couple of these. Wouldn't be that long of a print, but it will hold us up for a bit. but we can work on the wiring underneath while we're waiting for it to print. So let me do that real fast. And grab Orc Slicer. In fact, I think I have the darn things up there, which I do. Look at that. Make them 3 millimeters. Um, Don't do that. We need to cut, height, 3 millimeters. Keep the lower part. We cut. Bada bing, bada boom. Make 2. And before I forget, the one thing that I am noticing on Trident and possibly my 2.4, I don't have the issue with Kyber Dragon because I've got a nozzle brush. So what I do is I go through and I do, because before you can do movement, you have to do a homing. So I do a homing, then I go back and I brush off the nozzle, which will get rid of any little ooze bit on the nozzle. Then you go and you do your quad gantry level, or on a Trident, you do your Z-tilt at your 3 points. And I don't have any failures at that point. If I don't do that, or if I don't, on the Trident right now, because I don't have the brush installed yet, if I don't manually brush off the head or the nozzle, then what I wind up getting is too many tries when it's trying to do the Z-tilt adjust. Because there's filament there that's a little soft, and it gets slightly different readings every single time, and that will cause you a problem. So by running that nozzle clean routine, I haven't had a single failure over on Kyber Dragon of when it does its starting routine. So I've got the brush stuff printed. I just need to get it mounted on this Trident, which is probably going to happen later tonight. I will mess with that. Well, I say later tonight. It'll probably be tomorrow, because later tonight I'll probably be doing something else. But what we can do is we'll take this and lay it down on its side so we can take the bottom panel off, and then work on the other end of the lighting wiring. So I'll have to switch you guys over here. And we're using our makeshift workbench called the Flying Bear Reborn 2 that we will be working on stream on Saturday to pull out and install. These are socket head cap screws, so we gotta take them off with the big ones. Darn it. Move that forward. We'll slide this back some. Okay, what did I miss here? What did I miss, you guys? All three kids got appointments tomorrow. It's going to be a long day. Oh, that's going to be rough. Yeah, I'm going to the doctor's on Monday. It's my annual follow-up. It's my 4-year follow-up from my gastric bypass surgery. So, hey, I made it 4 years, still alive, so that's good. The only thing that sucks is Monday was a day off from work, but oh well, might as well spend it at the doctor's. All right, and then we got 2 M3 button heads at the front. That was interesting. I'm going to let that stay there. And this was our wire that we were pushing through. And I will be fine with having plenty of extra. I won't need plenty of extra, so I'm fine with plenty of extra just because it's under the deck, but I don't need that much plenty of extra. We'll take that off and we'll reuse that later. Let's bring this out here and that there, grab this. Exactly. Well, I used to take, when I was in the military, I would take leave to run errands. Like, I would take leave, PTO, whatever you know, and like, oh, I need to go to the bank. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to, go do something for my cell phone. And it just used to make me so mad that I would spend my day off running all over the place. But then every once in a while, I would take a day off and I would go down and sit at the bookstore and just get some coffee and sit down, grab a book or a couple of magazines and just sit there and read. Shut my phone off so nobody could get hold of me. Yeah. So that part would be nice, but yeah, anytime where I had to actually sit there and I guess I should take a look under here and see what I have available to plug in. Yep, coffee time. Okay, what are we using and what aren't we using? We got an in-stop. We're using one of the RGB headers, but I do have a second RGB header that I can tie into. And I've got the E0 in-stop, right? Yeah, I've got the E0 in-stop I can go into. TFT header. I know there's 5-volt down here. What's that one? No idea what that one is. It looks like another motor wire. I have SWD, UART2, SPI, and another RGB header, and the E0 in-stop. Like I said, I just need 5 volts and ground, and these will be always on. So I believe the E0 in-stop is going to be the easiest way to do that. And that is a 3-pin connector. Goes in that way. So power and ground. Really, Mod Light? I was talking about more like when I was in Germany, which was 2003 to 2009. And the only service I had was Deutsche Telekom, which is also known stateside as T-Mobile. So my options of bank was Bank of America. I mean, I kept USAA while I was over there, but I had to have Bank of America because they were the only local bank that I could draw checks on to like pay some things on the German economy that I needed to for my bills. T-Mobile was T-Mobile and what was it? O2, which I think is Vonage here in the States, if I remember right. So, oh no, I know, I know, I'm not as old as dirt, but I'm close. I'm close. Oh, dang it, that might work. There we go. Okay. Whoops. Went wrong. We're gonna go. The end stops go positive, negative. Okay. I should be able to bring this over here and plug it into the E0 stop. And we'll see if we get power through it at boot up. If not, then we'll have to figure something else out. I'm going to plug one of these in so that we'll have one plugged in. Do we have a power plug over here? I think we do somewhere. Apparently not. Grab this one. Sorry for getting in the way of the camera there, guys and gals. All right, now let's see if we get sparky sparks. No sparky sparks, but guess what? We got lights. We got lights. And I haven't had to configure anything. They just come on. So that's good. We'll go ahead and plug our other side in. Work on getting this closed back up. Observe. Hey, Tech Jeeper, welcome on in. Thank you for coming in and joining the party. Thank you for coming in and joining the party. We are working on our Voron, well, our Enderwire, so the Ender 3 to switchwire conversion known as Red Dragon. We did this on the channel several months ago. And we're just now adding the enclosure to it. And along with said enclosure, we were just trying to figure out where to plug in the lights for it. We're using just straight 5-volt 2-wire lights, so they'll be always on. And we're doing that because on this particular build, come on, you little stinker. There we go. On this particular build, we're using a blacked out panel set, well, smoked panel set. So it just makes it easier if we have lights on all the time so we can see things. So I'm going to try and stand this back up gently. So I got the one side over here plugged in. Bring this over here. We'll plug this other side in. And we've got lights. And I'm printing a new part that'll go on the inside here. Whoops. We are going to print a new part that goes behind this, and we're looking, and the spacing should be set up just right to where we can use slightly longer screws and mount this right on the side there so it'll be out of the way. I mean, technically we probably want to set it up higher so that it's out of the way of the tool head, but we'll work on that. We will work on that. What we've got is these pieces right here that are designed to go into like a 2020 extrusion, you know, and provide the whatchamacallit, the just helps it sit in the extrusion nicely. So we don't have an extrusion to go in on the side here. So I resliced them to get rid of that little bump, and I'm printing a couple right now. So at the very least, we can either mount it here or we'll VHB tape it where it'll be out of the way, because my fear is, let's pull our gantry up. So gantry up all the way over. If we've got this mounted on the side panel, will our wires be hitting? No, we should have clearance. We should have clearance. Let me move my fingers around here. So we should have clearance right there. We'll just need to, like I said, put some tape up there to hold the wires up against the edge, which is definitely going to be doable. I'm just going to need to get the top panel put back in place and add a couple of pieces of tape to hold this wire across the top of the panel. But before we get there, we need to get our print finished, which we're at 70%. So we got just a couple more minutes to go. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Liz, were you sitting over in Tech Jeeper stream as well? The other thing that I guess we can work on for now, while we're also waiting, is we can go ahead and get another set of these going, because we'll need them for the other printer in the other case. So we can go ahead and do some soldering. Get our next set of lights ready to go. So inside it's this and that. This was the one. This was the one that was wired. 5 volt was at the bottom. Now here it goes this way. 5 volt was at the bottom. Just trying to make sure I get these in the correct direction, or at least the same direction as I did on the other ones, so that when we do these, they'll be, you're in places. Yep, making some supper. What you making for supper, Pezliz? What I'm going to do is put a little bit of flux on these pads, because it'll make it easier to well, it makes it easier to solder them. You know what I need on that one? Give me 1 second. All right. Sorry. Okay. And I know I'm going to be good to use one of these wire stubs, so we'll get this one going. And then I'm going to need a couple of longer runs as well. That's not going to make it. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, See if I have anything else in here that's longer. That's a negative. Then we go back to our big container of wires. We should have something in here that'll suffice. And some place to set it down. Oh, too long. What I like to do is try and keep my wires so that I can always look for pieces that can be used for various things. And that way I don't have to keep going through a bunch of, well, yeah. It's always good to just keep your wire scraps. You never know when you need to make a new, like a slight extension to something or something along that lines. And yeah, it's always, I found it's always nicer to have some on hand. So doing well, Tech Jeeper. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Bonus Mint. Hey, how you doing? I do some resin printing. So I did a Babu Frick. So I do some here and there. I haven't been doing a lot just because my wife complains about the smell of the resin and stuff. So she really wants me to move it out into the garage. But I need to do some work in the garage before I can do that. So sorry, where are we at? Welcome on in, Eagle Brett. Hello, hello. Hey, Pete. Welcome on in. What do you got? Mod Light, blah, blah, blah. Have I used sensorless homing on the Big Tree Tech Pico board? Well, that's a Big Tree Tech Pico board with a Raspberry Pi 3B sitting on top of it. And we are currently doing sensorless homing on this RIC 2020. So Let me throw you back up here real fast. We'll grab some feelings off here. And I'll hit the replay button. And we'll watch it do sensorless homing. So the first thing it tries to do is make the bed go down for safe XY homing. So when it's down at the bottom, you hear it grind a bit. It's just because the bed's already down there. And we sensorless homed and came to the front corner of the bed to heat up. So yeah, sensorless homing works great. The diag pins for sensorless homing are currently covered up by a Raspberry Pi 3B, but they're just in front of the heat sink towards the center of the board. But you got to remember on a Pico board, starting from, I guess if you're looking at the heat sink on the drivers and it's at the top, your motors go E, X, Y, Z1, the gap, and Z2. So there's something to be aware of there. Okay, so we're going to do black wire, and red and black wire, just like we did before. Sorry, I need to hit the coffee again. Zippers. And I guess I ought to bring you guys back over here so that we can watch me while I solder, so you can laugh at me for my soldering skills. I know you won't, but, you know. Once again, we got our soldering flux, and we put some on our light, our LED light strips. I will bring you back over here while we go to get started. And all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of solder on the tip here. And then I can touch the, when I touch my pads, darn it, see if I can't get you in here a little bit closer. Yeah, all right, hold on. Too many things here and trying to get you guys in closer to see what I'm doing. So we've got a little bit of solder already on our tip here. And when I touch the pad with that flux, it'll flow out and it'll tend that entire pad. Just like that. Real quick and easy. Get a little bit more solder on here. Just touch that pad and it stays behind in that spot. It doesn't flow anywhere and everywhere else. So that makes, having that solder or the flux just makes the solder go down so much nicer, and it'll cover that whole pad, but it won't go anywhere else. And then what we'll do is we'll get a little bit of solder on the tips of our wires here, and then we'll just bring those over, heat everything up, and they'll adhere very nicely. So once again, we're just going to tin our wires, just get a little bit of solder on them. And off our brush, grab one of our pieces, line up the wire on the pad, hit it with a little bit of heat, and that's attached. Now I'm going to do it for the other side. Camera down, camera down. Sorry, folks. Sorry. That was not me. That was the printer actually vibrating the table. Sorry about that. So same thing. We're just going to heat the wire up right over the pad. Remove the heat. Whoops. Remove the heat, and that will stay on there. We can do the tug test on both wires, and they're fully attached. Same thing on the other side. But what I wanted to try and do is, so there's a wire here with a line on it. I'm going to use that as negative. So I'm going to flip this over so that they match up with the directionality that I'm going, because positive is on the top, negative is on the bottom here. So, same thing as before. Same dance, different verse. Apply heat. Everything heats up. Remove the heat, and that's attached. Other side. Oh, darn it. And there we go. Two sets of wires, both attached. And then we'll be able to cut this to length however we need it. In fact, we could probably check out our length between the other side. This way we'll be able to continue working on our wiring. Shouldn't need the Omni fix those anymore. Or our soldering stuff. This stuff can go away. What's everybody working on this evening? Anybody doing anything fun or interesting? Yeah, see, old man was there when dirt was invented, right? Like he was the one that named dirt. So Tech Jeeper, that is not a pencil. That is a TS100. I think I got it off of SaneSmart's website, but it's a TS100. And the nice thing is with the package, it comes with basically the 5-volt or whatever volt DC power brick, but it also comes with the ability to basically plug it in the field from a standard LiPo battery pack. So, hey, Tactile, how are you doing today? Yep, still going, still going. Pete, you started your 2.4 build finally. Awesome. Just printing and chilling, gotcha. Now having good luck with firmware. Uh-oh. Is that the firmware on the Big Tree Tech SKR Pico board? Or a heat break liner. Yeah, they're on Amazon. You got them on SaneSmart. A lot of people have them now. So I may have gotten it off of Amazon, actually. They have the updated T1000 now. Nice. Yeah, I just ordered some more of those little the soldered heat shrink joints. I just ordered a bunch of the small ones to replenish my stock, so I got that. I got some heat shrink number 8 fork connectors for doing the power input, power supply inputs. And I got it's a plug-in. I think I still got the plug-in one, but it's the smaller heat gun with the wraparound shield so that you can do heat shrink a little easier. Yeah, the Pine Sill is the new version that everybody seems to be jumping on. Yeah, the butt joint solder connectors, yep. I ordered them on Amazon, and give me a second. They're coming in a jar, or what looked like a jar. Wi-Fi? Yeah, they're the Wi-Fi. They'll come in like a little jar container. Oh yeah, the TS100s or any of the TS, they have firmware on them. And there's like this whole rigmarole of how to update the firmware. Oh, not a problem, Modlight. Not a problem. I found them. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is huge. Yeah, we're going to let those other parts cool down just a little bit longer, which means we'll go ahead and do some wire crimping on these. Really? Like, we're getting close. Like I said, I just want that to cool down a little bit more. You guys see me crimp a little bit today, so you don't need to see me crimp. Let's throw you up here and let you watch the rook print away. There you go. Like I said, we're printing the chameleons for the Toys for Tots campaign. Positive on the right, negative on the left for the connectors. The nice thing is on a printer this size, you can still do like 3, maybe 4, depending on which model you do and how you orient them. And yeah, it prints pretty fast. I think this is like an hour for 3, or not even an hour, I don't even think. What is it? Well, 56 minutes for 3. And basically all I did was I took a standard Voron 0 configuration in Orca Slicer and renamed it and tweaked a couple of settings, but none of those settings that I tweaked were speed. Well, not directly speed. The thing I've done is I worked on extrusion multiplier and flow rate, but I still think I need to do some more work because like doing all of my cosplay stuff for the Imperial Mandalorian Commando gear, I had supports turned on and I just used the default Orca Slicer settings for supports, printing ABS, and they popped right off. Yet doing standard supports for this in PLA, they're almost fusing to the print. So I don't know what the deal is there, but I need to kind of work my way through that. All right, so this one's wired up. The other side I'll need to wire up. The other one I need to crimp as well. I'm going to go ahead and put my solder away because I'm not going to need that, and I want to get it out so it doesn't dry out on me. Oh yeah, Five Guys is, well, I should say Five Guys was great. Five Guys is wasted on me at this point because of my surgery. One, I can't eat that much, and then two, just the greasiness and the heaviness would not work out very well for me these days. But used to love Five Guys. I'd have to go with the gang from work because they cook their stuff, like their fries and stuff, in peanut oil, and my wife's allergic, so it was always no bueno for her to go. Same thing with, we have a place out here called BurgerFi, and that's a good one as well. They actually like brand their burger bun, meaning they'll brand it. They'll use the hot iron and brand it with their logo. Yeah, it does. But that's why I went places with the guys when we were in the office. Hey, Amir, thank you for the subscribe. Thank you for using your Bezo Bucks and subscribing. I appreciate that. Positive on the right. So we are, we're gearing up for Earth. We're trying to do, I'll say, try and close out on some final project work before we get to Earth. We know we're going to have we're going to pick up the Additiva 3D Ender 3 Core XY kit from Edge of 3D. He's going to bring that to Earth with him. So I'll pick that up from him there. He did confirm for me that sorry, give me 1 second here. There we go. He did confirm for me that the kit does come with a Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3 V3 and a ByQ H2 V2S. And that means that we will be doing a giveaway for a ByQ H2 V2S on a stream in the near future. I was thinking I could do the giveaway at Earth, but I'd really like to do it here with everybody on the stream to give everybody here on the stream a chance. So, yeah. If you all are interested, pay attention, and on an upcoming stream, I'll announce ahead of time that on an upcoming stream, we will be conducting that giveaway. Positive, negative. Positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay, so those two are done up. And I need one of my black and white wires. The black and red wire sets. And I just realized that one, this is a little bit thicker wire, and two, It's not attached. So if we're going to do a non-attached, we're going to have to come up with something. Yep, can't do Chick-fil-A either. Can't do Chick-fil-A either. There's a lot of places that we can't go, or we go because we don't know, and then we wind up realizing, nope, that ain't going to work. I mean, she doesn't get, it's going to make her stomach upset, but it's not going to make her like, we got to rush to the hospital either. So that's the good thing, is we don't have to like go run into the hospital, as long as it's just peanut oil. Now, if she's not paying attention and they actually cook something in peanut, like straight peanuts, then we're going to wind up having some issues. And that's why every year for Halloween, we always have a toy or something that we can give out to kids that have allergies. Always. So that'll be good enough. We're just going to go down the side, and if I need to figure out, because the other one, once again, we're using a Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3V3, and I can't remember, it's I'll say plumbed differently in the case, so I may wind up needing to run the wire. So on this one, I ran the wire down the right-hand side because the board's on the right-hand side. The other one, the board, I think, is on the left-hand side, so I'll probably run this length down the left-hand side. It's kind of what I'm getting at when I can use the words of the language of English. Okay, so what did I miss? Enjoy your interview with, oh yeah. So Creatix Brit had an interview with, was it More and More on her channel the other night? And yeah, the part that I was able to sit through was really good. You guys were having a really good conversation. Good topics for everybody that's streaming. And it was great, Britt, hearing you talk about one of the first streams you did was like an interview with 4 people. And I sat in the corner and almost like curled up underneath my desk and started sucking my thumb, thinking about how much fun that would be. Yeah, you English too? Yeah. Your pooch interview? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I mean I remember having Evil Diesel sit here with me one Saturday, and he was like, what do you mean? Like, talk to him. Like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, talk to him about anything. Talk to him about praying. Talk to him about a project you're doing right now. Like anything. Just chat for a minute. Because eventually his wife's trying to prompt him to start streaming as well. So it's like we've got to get him just talking is basically where we're at. So we'll get him there. You guys got me doing it, so we'll get him there too. Come on. We got that there. We'll think these should be pulled off enough. Nice. Yeah, other than right around the edge here where it's going real fast and the cool is having some issue with the cooling. The rest of this, I mean, is just a beautiful top layer. If I can get it to show up right. There we go. Like I said, this corner over here is just cooling because it was, I'm praying at a fast speed. But yeah, that's been the fun part. My light is balancing work and streaming, and that's why I finally switched to 5:30 start time for Tuesdays and Thursdays. Is because I was always feeling like under the gun to shut everything down and get set up, because it would be different if I had like a dedicated office and studio, right? But I don't. Oh, hey, Chewy. Thanks for gifting Eagle Brett a gift sub. Appreciate it. So now what I'm going to do is just take out these top screws here. And these are M3 by 6. We're going to have to replace them probably with some M3 by probably 10s to go through the board. And so I know that this is 3 millimeters plus the board. And of course, my button heads are right over there. And the most not easiest place to get to in here today. Oh, like I said, 10s will let us go through the board, through this backer piece. And then hopefully through the, or into the, of course. Now I should probably turn this off before playing with screws near live wires. And that was Red Dragon. Yeah, like I said, that was a very good conversation, and I really liked the subject and the context of it about talking about streaming and how to balance work and family life, because he's got a wife and kids as well. I mean, at least me, I've got work, but I don't have the kids anymore. I'm empty nested, right? So that makes life a little bit easier with doing all this. But I mean, you still have to find the balance. As you guys may know, my wife just got back into town yesterday. So I'm not going to stream incredibly long tonight. So I can go just sit and hang out with her. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Welcome back in. Welcome back in. So I believe KB3B, yeah, KB3D Chris, I'll do a shout out here in a second, is doing streams, I want to say Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday nights or Sunday day until Earth to get the black box done. That's the black box tool changer. And he's going to have at the table at Earth. Of course, I really need to give somebody mod privileges in here that can do shout outs for me as everybody comes in. I guess that's one of those growing pains, is finding a mod. Hey, Nick, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Yeah, so through the board, over the river and through the woods, to grandmother's house we go. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely say don't stress. And when I'll say whenever you are working a mod, it's always good to just go with what everybody else is doing. It just makes a little more sense unless you've got a lot of good, I'll say, chops and background to really play around with things. That's really what I do, is I just use a lot of mods, and as you guys have seen, when those mods don't pan out, I try not to freak out. I just go in and see if I need to make another tweak based on my specific setup to make it work. So, Chris, what we're finding out here is the LDO, I'll say 2x3, 3x2 JST boards. Their holes line up right along with the side. The mounting holes for the 3x2s line up with the holes of these side brackets. So we're able to mount it directly to the side bracket there. And darn it, I didn't even think about that. I've gone ahead and tightened that up some, so I need to kind of tuck that wire away. I'm going to have to do some strips of electrical tape or something right down the edge for now, just to get that, I'll say, covered up, or out of the way, I should say. Keep it out of the way so it doesn't get hung up. But by mounting these at the top holes of these brackets, what it literally does is it lines up with the with that gap edge there, and it kind of stays out of the way. So all we need to do is, I'm going to use some electrical tape for right now just to hold these wires down and out of the way. And I'll figure out if I want to do some other type of, I'll say, mounting system down the road. Yeah, I didn't know it either. It just happened to work out that way, and I was just like, wow, that's interesting. One of those was it happy accidents or whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to use a few strips of this just to hold the wire down out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in anything. And then the other nice thing is because we went into an end stop, a 5-volt end stop, if we do put a Nevermore in here, those Nevermore fans will run off of a 24-volt port. So we should still have a 24-volt fan port that we can plug into. And then once again, like I said, when we go to do the other one, we'll have to really look into it and how we can telling you sometimes it's almost like English is a second or third language. We need to look into like where the connections, right? Because it uses a different board on the other printer. We're going to have to look really into the connections and where we can actually connect things into on that. See, this goes out a little bit more. This comes a little bit more. Close enough. Everything should just drop into place. We're going to do the two in the back. Kind of hold it there, and then we'll work on. I think we'll do these. We'll start at the front and work our way back down the sides, and then we'll do these last. I say that provided I'm able to get them lined up. There we go. Thanks for the lurk, Britt. Lurky turkey, yep. Yep. Thanks for the lurk, Britt. And you know, hey Shenanigans, how's it going, my friend? Welcome on in. Oh, that sounds like fun. Jury duty. Yay. Try to catch me on Saturday? Okay. The package went out the day I sent it to you that same day on Discord. When did I send that? The hell? Thought I sent it to you. Were we talking on Discord or were we talking? anyhow, it was earlier this week, so it was Monday or Tuesday that it went out. I did it express mail, which, by the way, oh dear God, like, or I'm sorry, not express, priority. Priority mail, flat rate. I don't know what our mail system is up to, but good Lord. Those boxes used to be like $6, and now they're like 10 and a half. And don't worry, I'm not complaining about shipping costs to you. I'm just complaining about how much mailing anything has gone up in our economy these days. Only ship with pirate ship. Well, that would be great, Chewy, if I had an account with pirate ship, which I don't. Okay, sides are in. I need to do the tops now. So these are my M3 by 8 button head cap screws. I will do the one side, and I will have to get actually different size screws for the other side because we're going to go through the mount. So tens. Not sure if tens will do it because they'll have to go through this and tens aren't going to do it. I'm going to probably need like 16. So let me grab those. As we're going through the mounting plate, 3 millimeters of acrylic, and then we'll need a little bit to get into the T-nuts. And now I'm wondering something. Yeah, I mean and don't worry, I don't mind sending the stuff to you. It was just, I was shocked to actually look and go, holy crap, that was, like I said, I remember when it was like $6, and now I don't even know when they went up, but I was like, good gracious. Yeah, it'll definitely save you a ton on shipping if I do a lot of shipping, which I haven't been doing a lot of shipping, but I get where it would come in handy. And I know it's because, they're jacking up the prices. They're, I'll say, dropping the service with, like just things taking longer and stuff, which, okay, I get it. They're losing money. I got that. They're losing money to um, to Amazon and FedEx and UPS and everybody else. But oh, I don't know, Pez Liz, because my wife's been gone for like almost 2 months, and I've done dishes 3 times, and it was all silverware. It's called just microwaving stuff. But yeah, I get it. Oh, good news! Good news, Monlight. Glad that he made it through surgery. Um, that's real good news. My parents actually, we got text from my parents last night, and it just said the deer won, and I was like, what? And we were, we had just gotten home, and so we were just chilling out. And finally, I looked at the text after my brother responded, and apparently my parents were going on a trip yesterday and got hit by a deer and caved in like both the front, at least the front and rear door on the driver's side. And I was like, oh my goodness. You too. I don't know what we're going to do with them. Okay, so we got the panels back on. I still need to add probably a couple more strips of tape to hold the wire that goes across up. And then we should be able to, well, we'd be able to print with it again after putting some filament on it, but I don't think I'm going to try and print with it on a box, though. I mean, I'm not that hinky. Yeah. Or janky, hinky, whatever. A little one on that side there. Yeah, if I'm cooking, then I will clean as I go. Just because it makes it easier, especially if you're cooking, if you're baking something or you're cooking, like if you're doing like a lasagna or something, you want to clean those prep dishes up before um, the dinner dishes, I'll say. So, so that there is good. I'm going to put a little piece right across there just as an end cap to keep it from pushing its way out. And hey, Chris, did you get your all your wiring and stuff done, or how you doing on that stuff? Okay, we need to create one more cable here. We'll be ready to wire our next one up. We still need to do our panels, which I redid some parts. Got all of the all the heat sets swapped over. So I can start putting these on. And these will probably need M3x8s. Oh, and for those of you keeping score, I did go and buy a bunch more of the M3x6s that we were starting to run low on doing the first one. So I do have plenty of those available now. Oh man, a month after you made the last payment. That sucks. So on the doors, there are, I'll say like the inner pieces just to provide a little bit more stability. So that's why we need a slightly longer screw, because we're now going through this inner plastic piece, the 3mm of acrylic, and then into the actual hinge. And that just makes a good sandwich on the acrylic to lock everything in. I guess I can bring you guys over here. Well, before I do that, let me go ahead and make this wire so I can put up all the crimping stuff and clean things up here. All right, have a good one, my light. Oof. And moose are no joke. Like I've had a moose going across the street in front of me, and I was driving a Geo Metro LSI 4-door hatchback, little 3-cylinder Geo, but I could have driven underneath the moose, and if I timed it right, not clipped his legs, I could have driven completely under the moose. Also had a lieutenant that I worked with that called and said he couldn't come into work, that he'd be late. We kept trying to ask him why, because we knew that the commander was going to ask, and he wouldn't answer. And we finally prodded him enough that he answered and told us that he couldn't come to work because there was a moose that had curled up against the front of his car to stay warm because he had come in late that night. And every time he walked out on his front porch, the moose would get up and stare him down. And I was like, oh, that's good enough for me, sir. I wouldn't go out and mess with the moose either. Like, no. Uh, yeah, Chris, the other thing too is have you got your software working? Or is that something you're going to work on the stream on Saturday? Because I know you're talking about the joys of RepRap firmware on your stream. So what I'm going to do is clip these rear ears just a little bit because trying to go over this thin FEP wire, they're too long and they always cause issues. And I'm not like going crazy. I'm just barely nipping the ends off because we still want them to curl around onto the wire. But if it's too long, then it just kind of goes anywhere and everywhere except curling nicely. That's a lot better. There we go. And I will worry about terminating the other end. Actually, yeah, I'll worry about terminating the other end once I do it because I don't know if I'm going to go into a 2-pin or a 3-pin, or whether it'll wind up being a DuPont versus a JST. So I'll do those, I'll say on the other side when I start putting the other shell on, enclosure on. Yeah, you're doing the Duet 3 with the RepRap firmware. That's kind of what I was saying was, are the, is it the macros you're working on or just, okay, you're just trying to get the base config right. Yeah, because I mean, at the very least, just getting basic movement, sorry, like not even tool swap, just basic movement of X, Y, and Z, I would say would be the initial first step and then work out from there. Kind of like Mod Light and Steve Builds have been doing on their VZBot build was, okay, we got our 48 volt and our 24 volt wired in. We plug them both in and we check and make sure that they're putting out the right voltage. All right, that part's done. Now we make sure that we can get, they every step of the way, they just continue to make sure that stuff was working. So speaking of stuff that was working, other than my final retract still even a little bit of a wisp, we're getting really nice, good prints. Really need to work on the lighting. Getting really nice, good prints out. This is Polymaker Aqua Blue. I'm seeing a little bit of weirdness on the Z-banding, but everything's coming out nice and clean. So still having some issues, some minor issues with, like I said, with the supports kind of fusing. But yeah, their tails can be hard. And if you do not have your first layer down pat, the tails will come off. Like I've been working on trying to do full plates on some things. And if a tail breaks loose, it just wreaks havoc on the whole plate. So you definitely need to have the ability of the object, turning off a specific object and maintaining, continuing to print the entire plate, because otherwise that just sucks when you wind up losing an entire plate on a print. But we'll get another set of these going because it's been great. And I'm going to move you guys back over here, I think, so that you can watch me as I work on the door itself, or work on getting the door hinges and stuff in place. So what we're doing is working to find which hinge backer is which, because there's two different sizes, just slightly different. But we're going through one of these, through the panel, and then into the hinge. And this creates that outer hinge. We're using 10 millimeter screws because we're going through this part, which is probably a millimeter, this, which is 3. And that'll give us plenty to go in there. We'll probably do it. I'm sorry, no, we weren't doing 10s, we were doing the 8s. 10s will be too long. What I do is I get the top one started, and then we'll come back in and line up the bottom one. And you're squeezing acrylic here, so you don't want to like really dug it down because you will crack your acrylic. Oh, so you can't even share the macros. Well, yeah, that makes sense because the locations are all different. So you have to have a separate macro. Well, can you not use like some variables in your macro and reuse the same macro for the tool change? Yeah, because I don't know RepRap firmware that much. So that would be the thing is if I do one, I'm going to be like you. That's going to be my learning experience is learning RepRap firmware and some of that difference. 200 plus penguins and chameleons? Yeah. And they'll be like, ma'am? No, seriously. Yeah, I've got a couple of boxes already, almost full of. So a box of penguins, a box of chameleons, a box of dolphins, and alligators. So Kyber's been working on 3 alligators, or right. Well, I could do more alligators, but I had it set for 3 alligators. I got 5 dolphins going on it now, and then I've been doing chameleons and penguins on the Prusa Mini downstairs and on the rooks because, well, they work good on the rooks. So I'll probably be printing more of them on the rooks out at Earth. So on RepRap 2, it's not an option. I'm assuming that's to me on using macros. Oh, Pez, when I left Rocky Mountain RepRap Fest coming home, I've told the story a couple of times, but I had the Voron 2.4 and a Trident 300 size frame. So I had 2 frames in my carry-on luggage, a bunch of clothes, and then I had 2 supernova constellations, all the stuff that I got from Fabrico because they gave me a like a creator's box or whatever. And regardless, I had electronics lined all the way around the edge at the top of my suitcase because I figured they were going to open it up and check. And then I had 2 sets of frames that were angled at the bottom of my carry-on. And I'm looking at that and I'm going, there's no way they're not going to think that this is a 4-letter word. Like I fully expected, like I was expecting to be like literally strip searched going through there with all these electronics and everything. Nope. Not. They asked me several questions. I explained it to them. They pulled it back through and then they asked what the long pipe looking things were. And I said that they were frames for 3D printer build. And they go, okay. And they let me through. The guy behind me that had, I think he had like some liquid. Like he forgot and left his water bottle in his luggage. And they pulled his luggage and ruffled through it the whole 9 yards. Guess it might help if I put magnets in here before I 6x3 magnets. I know I have a few of those somewhere around here. Oh, I've got a few of them somewhere around here. I still have a whole slew of them right here. But yeah, how I made it through, I don't know. It astounded me. Whoops. Seriously? Well, that was good. Dropped a magnet on the floor. There it is. Apparently my magnet slots are a tad big. But that's what they make reamers for, so we'll solve that problem. I'm just going to lightly ream this out. Now these will go in and of course pull right back out, so we'll have to put a little bit of super glue on them, but that's fine. Yeah, you can do macros in RepRap, but you can't do the variables, which sucks, but I'll get it. We'll let that sit there and set up. Meanwhile, we'll try and peel our panels. Okay. So, are you stuck using RepRap 2 then? Or are you going to go to 3? Or has do the Black Fox folks even support RepRap 3? Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, and so we'll have our door handles that'll go on the outer edge here. So similar type thing. We'll have smaller uh, bracket sets that'll come in through one side. We'll grab our 8s again. Go through this bracket. Then into our other printed part. And the nice thing are the doors are symmetrical, so you're not having to worry about, one's a left, one's a right. There's no what side's the inside, what side's the outside. That'll all be determined when you go to actually put them in the hinges. There's one side done. Now we're going to do the other side. I'll say I'm glad that I reprinted these because they do line up a lot better now. And Chris, I didn't catch it. I know you're streaming Wednesday and Friday evenings. Was Sunday an evening stream or a daytime stream? These are they 35s? 35s will do, but I want 35 or 40 in socket head cap screws. Okay. Yeah, just all right. These are 40. Well, those should still work. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out. Uh, Chris will be working on his black box build, which is a water cooled 5 tool head changer. Correct? Is that like a is it a like a 300 by 300 build volume? Come on, line up. There we go. Well, what I did with these off stream is I made sure and I reamed out I'll say the top edge where the head of the bolt sinks and the door hinge that goes on the door. The bottom edge though, you do not want to ream out because these thread in and to become the door hinge. So just going to lightly screw it down until you feel the head bite at the bottom of the print, and then I'll say back it off like a quarter turn, and you should have plenty of tension there for your door. .300 by 300, yeah, nice build size. Make sure they move nicely. And there will be you will have your, at the base down here in the center printed part, there is a spot for magnets as well. So you'll have magnets here and then magnets on the door handle as well. And then we'll have heat set inserts here. So your door handles are going to screw on and then have the magnets that will, I guess, which way does that go? Yeah. So it should be, go like that. Oh no, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Slowly but surely, one small piece at a time. Yeah, yeah, I get that. Some people are like, "Oh my God, you're 3D printing ghost guns." Well, no, you may 3D print some parts to a gun, but if you try and shoot a bullet through a barrel that's 3D printed, you'll do it once, and that's it. No blue smoke content. Uh-oh. Well, I thought you'd powered up on the other stream too. Maybe you didn't. No, that's right. You haven't powered up yet. Okay, but that's good. So you should have done that on stream. It's cheating to do it off stream where you can fix any mistake. But no, I do get it because after a while you start feeling the pressure and you're like, okay, I need to get this build done. Like I you want to wait for a stream and show off all the good content, but at the same time it's like, nope, I just need to get things done. Well, I'm surprised we haven't said anything about it. So who watched the Creality stream today? You know, I did as soon as it came on, or as soon as I noticed that it was on. But that was a treat seeing the one and only Sam Prentice in a suit. I think he's going to need to take all kinds of hell over that at Earth. You know, just some good nature ribbon. You would have stayed up all night trying to fix it. Oh, I know. Well, and that was my problem is when I cooked that one, it was because I had stayed up until like 2 in the morning, 3 days in a row working on it. And, you know, I knew better. I shouldn't have tried to power on, but it's like, I need this to sleep well tonight. No, you don't. Go to bed, come back the next morning, double check, triple check everything, then power it on. Because that, you know, fresh pot of coffee and good night's sleep, I would have caught that before I even applied power to it. So on one side, your parts are or your pins go down. The other side, they go from the bottom up. So just be aware. There you go. Just be aware. I know you guys aren't seeing much of anything good right now except for my arm. Come on, work with me. There we go. We're just trying to get it lined up so we can get the screw started. There we go. And since I've reamed it out to 3 millimeters, it goes all the way to the point where it's going to start threading in, which makes life easier rather than trying to thread 40 millimeters of bolts. Okay. It feels kind of like it's binding short. Um, what you might see me doing is I'm just trying to see if there's any slack in the holes themselves. Because what I'm finding is there's a little bit of um, a binding in the corner where the panels meet. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, so on this side, when I close the door, you see there's just a little bit of a gap, right? And what I did was I undid the 4 screws like on the inside, pulled the door forward and redid these screws. Same thing on the door. I undid the screws, pulled the door forward and redid these screws. And you'll notice, see how much this is binding right here? And just trying to loosen those screws up and just moving the door panels ever so slightly forward seemed to help get rid of some of that gap. And that just might be the reality of like materials, right? We CAD this up, or somebody CAD this up, and it was like, oh, this is going to be good. We're going to have a very nice fit and tolerance, but that only works if your cast acrylic is perfectly 3 millimeters. A little bit thick in an area or something like that, it could always bump out a bit. Could also be a bit of a print tolerance thing too with the shrinkage of material, especially using like ABS or ASA. You have some chance of material shrinkage, which would of course change the tolerances of the hinges. Now let's see how that does. Still not, we're still binding somewhere. Seems like it's down at the bottom. I'll have to keep playing with that. Well, I'll have to keep playing with this side as to why it's not closing up as nicely. You said it could be a slight print tolerance issue in my part. Um, I'm not going to say it's laser at this point because everything else has gone together so nice. I'll be more apt to say it was something in my print. But I've got all of these just a little bit loose, and I'm still binding. Feels like down at the bottom. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. And it looks like this piece goes on the top. So we screw in from the inside to the outside on this particular one. Okay, that's there. Yes, this will mount through the door into the handle, and then the magnet on the handle will line up with that one. Yeah. So we're close. I'm going to keep working on this door here off stream. It's 9 o'clock, folks. I'm going to go ahead and call the stream here. I think we made some good progress tonight. I definitely appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with me tonight. It's always a pleasure. Always nice having everybody here. Give me somebody to talk to while we're doing this. And remember, Saturday, we will be working on the Flying Bear Reborn 2 and getting that going. Not a problem, Chris. Not a problem. Like I said, it's always better to have somebody to sit there and hang out with when you're working on something. Sometimes another set of eyes looking through or looking at something, it can say, "Hey, do you want to do that or do you want to do this?" So that's always helpful. So we got a spool holder here. We'll be able to put a spool on it and unroll it straight down into the PTFE fitting, which we'll have to run our reverse Bowden tube down there. We've got our lights on. In fact, I'll go ahead and turn her back on and we can see our lights. And you can see how that will work with your door panels in place. It's still, oops, be like this. It still lights up and you'll be able to see through, but it won't be like exceedingly bright. So yeah, I really don't know why this side lines up pretty good and then this side isn't. It's got to be something in the either in these prints or oh no, maybe I could sand down one edge just a tad bit. Maybe just put a chamfer on that edge a bit. I don't know. But it seems like there's light coming through it. So there's a slight gap there. I don't know how else to work on that, but I will. But thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to put you guys back up here. And let's take a look at the prep that we got going while I do a little bit of cleanup. And if anybody has a target that you want to raid out to, just let me know. Hey, Edge of 3D, how are you doing, friend? Glad to see you here. 6. 8. Yeah, stronger magnets may help, but like I said, the one side of the door closes real nicely. The other side's binding on something, and I don't know why. I don't know why, and that's what bothers me. I don't know if I just need to loosen up a bolt here or there somewhere else, and if I've got something tightened down too much. Seriously, grab the right size and it'll look a lot better. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, lay the Ugga Dugga into it. But I don't know. We'll take a look at it. I'll keep playing with it off stream. But we will have the bench cleared off so that we can work on the Flying Bear Reborn 2. Trident's fully completed. I saw that. I saw some good prints on that. That's awesome. a dragster for Big Tree Tech, and a death racer for Creality. Nice. Nice. You're just keeping yourself all kinds of busy. We got an ad break, so hopefully after that we'll be able to get to work. We'll need that out for those. This is here, that's there. This stuff can get put up. We'll have one more to do. Leave that out. This can go up. Crash bang boom. Okay. Who do we want to raid out to? Who is on at this point in time? Oh. Thursday night, News by Sadie, Prophet DNA, Good Heresy's on. Ugly Moo. I know Creatix Brit normally streams on Thursday, but I'm not sure. It may still be an hour early for her. Yeah. And the big thing is, Edge of 3D, just make sure you bring all the remotes, make sure you bring all the vehicles. Check the packing like 5 times before you actually get ready to go. Yes, Ugly Moo is doing some painting. By Sadie's. I'm gonna be right back right now. Mr. and Mrs. Prophet are out there doing some Lego. Well, we've proven that you don't technically need radios because radios will just will just appear for you. Oh, you're just running late, Britt? Okay. Well, Britt, let me know if you're getting ready to start. I will hang out for a little bit and just chat. But if you're going to be a little bit later, no worries. Yeah, we've just been doing some, I'll say, cleanup projects. You know, we've got the Rook 2020 going. I did have another issue with the Fabrico Rook with the PTFE tube routing. So I've said to hell with it, and we're going to be putting a Sentinel on that one as well. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. He's always running late. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to definitely we are going to make that Fabrico Rook run and run reliably enough that I feel confident taking it to a show. Everything seems to be going good on the Rook 2020. I was thinking about swapping it out or swapping the Raspberry Pi 3B out with a Raspberry Pi 2W, and just say I'm still debating with that. Because I thought, like, do I put a screen on it and do a clipper screen on it? And if I do a screen on it, I'm not sure if a Raspberry Pi will have the or a Raspberry Pi W or 0W or a 02W will have the oomph to do everything. But we'll see. I may test it and see if it works. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then we'll run it with the 3B. We will have a little bit of fitting to work on getting this done, but I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna do that off stream. Make sure everything's nice and done upright and tight. And I haven't heard anything from Britt, and I still haven't seen her jump on. Getting rather annoying. Let there be good. Stop turning. Yeah, I need to still go down and eat some dinner. You handle most everything. Yeah, no, the plan would just be so I got a 4.3 inch Big Tree Tech Pi TFT coming in that I was going to mount down here at the base. I'm going to have to figure out a mount for it, but we'll get it mounted down there, so we'll have a way of interacting with it, preferably without having to go through Wi-Fi. Because I have no idea how close I'm going to be to KB3D's booth this time. And the 0G, I'm going to bring the 0G to KB3D's booth. And this may go over there as well, since it's, well, the appropriate color scheme for that booth. So who knows? I may have to find out if I might have to check and see if I've got any orange PLA to take with me, so that we can print things in orange PLA. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, look at that. She's starting soon. So we are going to raid over into Creatix Brit. She's got her stream started. She's probably going to start off with some words at some point. But I do need to get down and spend a little bit of time with my wife, who just got back from like almost 2 months in Colorado, and get some grub. So thanks everybody for being out here. I guess I can flip over to this scene so you can see a little bit more of me. Thanks everybody for being out here. I may not be on Brit's stream right away, but I will try and check in a little bit later. Brit, thanks for being out here and hanging out with me today. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Like I said, everything's going to be off the bench, and we'll start unboxing and getting into the Flying Bear Reborn 2 that everybody was interested in. So thanks a lot, and see you Saturday or tomorrow at your, yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow night. I'll see you Saturday as well, and maybe again Sunday. So thanks a lot. Good seeing you, Zombie. I need to catch one of your streams again at some point. If they weren't so darn late. Okay, so I'm gonna get the raid started for Creatix Brit. I typed that. Great. Awesome. Please go on over with me, hang out with Britt, and we'll, yep. See you later, Stephen Poole. Have a great one. Everybody stay safe, and we will see you guys next time around. Take it easy, all. Bye-bye.